Veganism is all about living the life, enjoying what you eat, and it not being restrictive. So when you add a time limit to what you can eat, that becomes restrictive. Hey guys, it's Mich. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experience as a HCLF, high carb, low fat vegan, and why I've decided to stop being a high carb, low fat vegan and making the transition to a more, or for me at least, more healthful, more healthy and balanced diet, and kind of transitioning more towards the starch solution type diet. So first, before I start, I just want to make a disclaimer that everything that I'm saying is not things that I'm trying to force on you. These are things that are based on my experiences. Obviously, people's bodies are different. People like different things. So this might not necessarily be your opinion, but obviously you clicked on this video for some sort of reason. So please don't come over here commenting on me, telling me that what I'm saying is wrong. Because again, these are from my experiences. I'm not trying to force anything on you. When it comes to veganism and the vegan lifestyle and trying to figure out what type of vegan you want to be, it's totally up to you, your personal choice. At least I think that it's the way it should be. You don't have to listen to anybody else. Don't listen to anybody else. You're gonna decide what's best for you and what's best for your body. So I guess I'm just gonna start out with how I came into veganism and stuff like that, and how I started being a high carb, low fat vegan. So before I was vegan, I was actually vegetarian for a little over a year, and it was about my freshman year that I decided to become vegan. I'm not going to go through the whole story about how I became vegan. That's basically how it happened in short. So yeah, I was vegetarian for about a little over a year, then I just decided to become vegan after learning all about it. Y'all know the spiel. So yeah, I became vegan, and I was still very beginning, and so I was kind of just doing the research and doing different things, and I think the high carb, low fat vegan diet seemed really appealing at the time. It was like, and it still is like a really big thing within veganism. It's pretty much when people become vegan, it's kind of what they turn to. So I kind of did the same, and I turned to high carb, low fat vegan because it seemed like everyone was talking about it. I know Asina O'Neil was high carb, low fat vegan, especially Freely the Banana Girl. So I went to kind of looked at their lifestyle as a basis for mine, and you know, they all talked about how healthy it was, and I know a lot of other people who had seen a lot of weight loss from it. So I was like, okay, let me try this. I love fruit. This seems amazing. So I started, I'm probably going to do a separate video about this, because when I first turned vegan, I lost about 15 pounds. But yeah, so I just kind of went into it, and so I just kind of turned to it. And so if you don't know what a high carb, low fat vegan diet is, it's basically the majority of your diet comes from carbs, and you are eating as little amount of fat as possible. And so you refrain from, like a lot of high carb, low fat vegans refrain from eating oils, and even just like natural foods containing oil, like avocados, which I absolutely love. I think for the first year it went pretty well for me, or like the first couple months or so. So I was eating, for breakfast I was eating a lot of, as I learned more about it, I realized that the diet was way too restricting for me, especially as somebody who's new to veganism. It was just a lot to handle, and just seems way too structured. So as a high carb, low fat vegan diet, most of your meals in the morning would consist of eating fruit in the morning, or even making fruit smoothies, which I love. And when I started out, I really loved doing that. I loved eating fruit in the morning. It was satisfying enough. And then I also had smoothies in the morning, and I always had kind of an internal conflict, just because I was listening to outside sources telling me that I needed to eat this amount of calories, and I needed to eat this much. Like, I understood as a vegan I do need to eat more, because the foods that I eat tend to be less calorie dense, so I require a lot more in order to be able to obtain the equivalent amount of energy. I understood that, but I was just hearing so much about what I had to do, and I was hearing, you know, like you guys know, Freely the Banana Girl eating 3,000 plus calories, and for me that was like, what? I've never eaten that much food in my life. So when I first became vegan, it was quite an adjustment. I was just not used to eating so much, and so at first I was just kind of eating the same amount that I had eaten as a vegetarian. I wasn't eating a whole bunch, and I was completely satisfied with that. That was fine with me. And then I ended up losing a lot of weight, and then after a while I realized that it was just because I was not eating enough. So, you know, I upped my calorie intake, and then basically I just started trying to, you can say, force myself to meeting some of the calorie equivalent intake as some other people would suggest you to do. And so, you know, I would try and eat like 2,800 calories or so, and for me that's so much food, and I would just try to pack it in. And so for me it was just like, I don't need that much food, and at the same time, like, I didn't exercise a whole lot. Like, I'm not a heavy or extreme exercise as a person. I'm not extremely active, so again, like, I didn't need to be eating that much calories. So I stopped being high carb low fat vegan diet because it was too restricting. I just thought it was too restricting, and I didn't like the idea of only eating fruit in the morning. For a while I was okay with it, and it went well. I had fun eating fruit. I love fruit, but after a while you just get bored of it, and I just wanted to eat other meals. I couldn't because it's so restrictive. There's a set of guidelines that you're supposed to eat like fruits in the morning, and veganism is not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be non-restrictive, and where you can just eat whatever you want. In a high carb low fat vegan diet you can't. So I kind of got tired of eating fruit in the morning, and I just wanted like some oatmeal, and I flippin' love oatmeal, and some toast in the morning, just other food, and like especially for lunch, because I would want to eat something and I'd be like, oh wait, it's not 4 o'clock yet, so I can't like, it's not 4 o'clock yet, so I can't eat what I wanted to eat, and that was just very frustrating. I just know I wanted to eat whatever I want whenever I wanted, so it was definitely frustrating when I wanted to eat oatmeal in the morning, but I couldn't because it's a cooked meal and I had to eat raw until 4. So that was very frustrating. But in response to other things, I think it's very important that, especially for new vegans, that you are really listening to your body. Don't listen to outside sources. While it is important, I feel like everyone these days seems to think that their way is the correct way, and everybody's bodies is so different that what works for one person is not going to necessarily work for another person. And so when you have people shoving all this information down your throat, eat 300 or eat 3,000 calories or more a day, it's like, no. And so I started trying to up my calorie intake just for the sake of it, because that's what other people were telling me. And so I was doing that, and I was completely unhappy because I started gaining weight. And you guys, I'm 5'3", and I'm pretty small for the most part, and so 3,000 calories is a lot for somebody that's my height, and just like within my frame as well. And for the fact that I'm not like somebody who exercises every single day, or like, I don't, you know what I mean, like my exercise level is not at that point where all those calories that I obtained, like where I would even be losing a sufficient amount to maintain my weight. So I started noticing that I was gaining weight, and that was very upsetting that people turn to veganism because of the benefits and the weight loss you receive from it. So it was very frustrating for me after losing 15 pounds and then gaining that weight. And so I was like, what the heck? Okay, everyone thinks that what they're doing is the correct way, but everyone's bodies are so different. Absolutely different. What works for one person, our activity levels are different, our metabolism is different. If eating 3,000 calories doesn't sit right with you, then don't eat it. I don't know why it took me so long to just learn to stop listening to other people. Do your own research, obviously, listen to your doctors and stuff, but at the same time, you gotta also listen to your body and what feels right. Also, another thing that I experienced, there was a long period of time where I had lost my period and I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm eating so healthy, and no, I feel like it's very restricted because it's calling you to cut out for the majority certain, you know, nutrients from your diet which you need and are essential. Everybody knows that carbohydrates is the primary form of energy and your brain needs it to perform and do work, but the other macronutrients are just as important. I love vegetables. That's where I get a lot of my protein from. I love beans, and I couldn't stand not being able to eat, having to wait till 4 to eat it, and I couldn't eat that for lunch. And like the fat thing, like after a while I was like, wow, I'm not even, like, I'm barely consuming any fat. And so for a very long time I had lost my period, and I was like, and I told some people this and they're like, oh my god girl, you're lucky. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, this is supposed to be like a natural functioning thing and it's not happening for me. So I was like, you know, something is up. And so yeah, I had lost it for, it was a very long time. I think I went like 5 months, 6 months without having my period, and I was like, this is not supposed to happen. At that point I was like, this is honestly way too restrictive. And for somebody like me who's very, very controlling when it comes to just like my diet and my food, I'm just like very anal about everything. And so I just didn't like the restrictive aspect of it. It just reminded me of different times of my life where I was just way too fixated on the food and the calories and what I was eating and what I needed to intake. So I thought it was just kind of like a flashback moment, and I didn't like constantly having to think about, oh, I can't eat this food, I have to wait until 4, oh, I don't eat fruit in the morning. Like, it was just frustrating in general, and I'm just, you know, glad now that I'm not doing that. It's because I love oatmeal. Like, oatmeal's probably, it's not all about the oatmeal, I promise. It's just I really love oatmeal, and I'm just glad I can eat it now. Yeah, that's good enough. Like, I'm so happy. And I eat vegetables for lunch, for breakfast. I eat whatever I want, and I'm loving it. And it's not restrictive at all because I can eat whatever I want, and I'm not trying to limit any macronutrient from my diet. And for the most part, I'm eating a well and balanced diet, and I think that's what's most important. I don't know, you go to these different lifestyles of veganism, and I just feel like any diet that's urging you to restrict or to eat less of a certain nutrient is not a very good nutrient. Like I said before, veganism is all about living the life, enjoying what you eat, and it not being restrictive. So when you add a time limit to what you can eat, that becomes restrictive. Eating 3,000 plus calories a day was just not healthy for me because I was gaining weight like rapidly too, and I was like, something is up. I'm eating healthy. You can still gain weight on a vegan diet, and so I was gaining weight and it didn't make sense because I was eating healthy, you know? So yeah, now I am just at the point where I'm kind of experiencing and trying to go back to where I was before being vegan. Even though I was vegetarian, I did consume eggs and dairy, poultry and dairy. I think for the most part, my diet was well balanced. I just want a healthy, balanced diet that includes a variety of different foods. Like, I love vegetables. Like, I want to eat that for lunch if I want to, even if I want to eat it for breakfast if I want to. I love oatmeal in the morning, cream of wheat. And what was really frustrating for me is that a lot of those nutrients, especially as new vegans, and we're discovering products, we're discovering foods that, you know, contains different types of nutrients. Breakfast is the most important part of your day, and for me, I want to obtain all those nutrients that I can in the morning. And a lot of those foods that I would eat are high packed, contain a lot of those nutrients that for me personally were difficult for me to obtain through what I was eating. So always do what's best for you. Do not listen to anyone else. Once you start listening to your body, you're gonna be all right. And I really hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you think about this, how high carb low fat vegan diet has worked for you, and let me know, you know, your suggestions and your experience with that. Have you stopped being a high carb low fat vegan? Or are you still a high carb low fat vegan? Let me know in the comments. Obviously different things work for different people. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. So yeah, not doing that anymore, but I still eat fruit, you know what I mean? It's like I probably still eat the same amount. I probably don't eat 9 bananas in a day because that is just way too much for me. I eat maybe 3 bananas in a whole day. I'll have 1 or 2 in my smoothie, not 15 in my smoothie, because that seems more practical for me and a bit less ridiculous. Like, I want to know, do most vegans eat that many bananas throw in one smoothie? After one like smoothie thing, I get super full, so I don't know how they can smash in 9 bananas in one smoothie in like one sitting. Like, I don't even know. I can't imagine. I would like force myself to eat that stuff, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I'm over it.